Hi, Kimberly. I'm really excited to do this reading for you today. I'm not sure how much you know about human design, so I'm just going to go over a little introduction to human design just so that as we go through this, you kind of know what area I'm talking about. Your energy type is the role that you're here to play. It's sort of like how you interact in the world. The strategy is the correct way in which you should take action, and it kind of lays the foundation. The authority is your natural decision making skills. The profile is how the energy gets expressed out into the world through you. And then the planets represent the lens through which the energy is expressed. It's the area of life where that particular energy may show up in. We also have energy centers, and each center is responsible for managing energetic frequency that relates to specific areas or themes in our lives. So your defined centers are the lessons that you're here to conquer in order to bring your unique gifts to the world. Any kind of a hanging gate, which is where only half of channel is lit up. If you look in this example, gate 44, in the lower left-hand corner, the splenic center, gate 44 is defined. But if you follow that up and across, you see it turns from red to white. That means that it's open. So anywhere where it's colored in is defined, and anywhere where it's white is open. And it doesn't mean that you don't have that energy if it's white. We all have all of this energy. It's just different in how you're going to receive it. And so we're going to get into this a little bit further down, but where you're white is where you take in energy from other people, and you typically, because you're white in the area, you amplify it. And that's your body's way of kind of learning how other people process energy. And it's really to help teach you how to be fair and open to possibilities, because you can kind of see the way other people experience their energy. So it's really important, and I probably go over this a couple times during your reading, but it's really important if you're open in areas to be careful who you're hanging around with, because if you're hanging out around with the bad guys, and they are defined in this area, you're going to take in that energy and you're going to amplify it. So just be careful, not that you're hanging out with bad guys, but you know what I mean. So each energy center is responsible for managing a different energy frequency in an area of your life. And we're going to go over all of that. Any kind of a hanging gate represents the areas where you're going to magnetize that opposite energy to you to help you to fill roles, to help you to learn lessons. And anywhere where you have a full channel means that you have consistent access to that energy. And the same with in the energy centers, anywhere where you have it colored in, it means you have consistent access to that energy. But if you're white, it means that you're going to take in energy from others and amplify that. Let's see. There's also 64 gates, and each of those gates represents a different energetic theme, but they go with the energy that's in that center. So if you're defined in a center, you have consistent access to that energy, but only the areas where your gate is defined, and that's circled in red if it's defined, and it will also have energy going out into the channel. But wherever those gates are highlighted, that means that you have consistent access to that specific energy. So what that means is you're going to be like thinking the same things all the time, depending on your vibration. And so when you do this work and you increase your vibration, then you can get into the higher levels of this energy, which is where you get gifts for your life. It's where you learn and where you grow, and this is kind of what supports you as you start doing this work. You're going to grow and you're going to learn, you're going to understand, and be open to more possibilities. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. But in each of these gates, you can dig further into your personality and you can find out what drives you. You can see themes that are playing out or that have played out in your life, or your relationships even. You can see how your intuition works and how to understand yourself in all different areas of life. It's a good indicator where you have the most potential for the most growth, because those areas that are open, you can always grow in those areas. Well, you can always grow in every area, but the defined areas, if you're on the lower vibration of those energies, once you start doing this work, it's just going to help you to increase your vibration, which is going to bring you, like I said, the gifts that each of these offers. And each area has gifts. Each gate, each energy center, each planet, there's a gift in everything. There's also channels, and a channel is when two gates connect. So in the example on the screen right now, if you look at that bottom left splenic center, the same one that we looked at gate 44 off of earlier, that's got gate 57, and it goes up to gate 20 and connects there. And this one is actually a tri-gate. It's got gate 34 and gate 10 also attached to it, and all of those are defined. And so those form channels. Each connection is a different channel. Each two numbers that go together is a different channel. And the channels connect the energy of the gates. And if it's open, then we take in that energy and amplify that out to others. But when it's defined, you have consistent access to that energy, and it's a lesson that you can learn on your own. The circuitry, which we're not going to go over a lot of, just because it's a deeper level, but it's just another way that you can understand your energy. The circuitry is really, really smart. And this is really just the energy that's running through our body, and it forms different circuits. It's kind of evolutionary, and it holds another layer of your energy that helps us to learn more about ourselves and kind of our place in the world. It can guide you the best way for you to share information with others and to survive in the world. Ideas come from individual circuitry. New ways of doing things come from tribal circuitry. And then the tribal circuitry passes things on to the collective circuitry. And the collective circuit is kind of where evolution happens. So it's pretty fascinating when you get in deep, but even in the class that I offer, we don't get into circuitry just because it's that deep a level. There's also planetary gates. So the red and the black squares on each side of your chart are where your planets are. And each planet represents a different energy. The sun sign, which is the very top one, it's kind of the circle with the dot in it. That is your personality. That's how you express things out into the world. The earth one, which is the next one down, that is what grounds you. And I think it's important to understand what grounds us, because a lot of times we just need to stop and ground ourselves. And, part of that is covered in this course about, how to take time for yourselves, because a lot of times, especially women, have a hard time taking time for themselves. So we do cover that in the class. The North Node, which is the next one down, that's where you're headed. So around age 50 is when you kind of hit your North Node time. This is because the next one down is the South Node, and that's where the areas that you're comfortable in. But what happens is you start in the South Node when you're a child, and those are lessons that you have to learn in order to get to the North Node. And so around age 50, you've learned enough that you can move on to the North Node. And then you're going to experience energy differently once you hit that point. The next one down is the moon, and the moon is your emotions. And the next one down is Mercury, and that's communication and manifestation. So this is kind of where all the magic happens. And it doesn't matter if you're defined or not defined. We all have all of the energy. It's just a matter of how you get what you're trying to express out into the world, how you get it out. And there may be different ways for you to do that depending on your energy. The next one down is Mars, which is action and desire. And then there's Venus, which is love and resources. Jupiter is blessings. And Saturn is lessons. So we have to learn the lessons of Saturn before we can get to the blessings of Jupiter. So this is kind of interesting once you learn it, because then you kind of, once you learn what your Saturn gates are, you can kind of see where that there may have been like a repeating pattern of that energy for your entire life. And you didn't know, but each time it was helping you to learn something new. And then as you get older and learn a lot of those lessons, that's when you start to see the blessings in it. Uranus is awakening and liberation. Neptune is inspiration. Pluto is transformation and evolution. And Chiron is the wounded healer. And a lot of times you can see the energy of Chiron repeating over and over in your life as well. So that's another interesting one to explore. I lost my mouse. Right there it is. So your energy type is a manifesting generator. And manifesting generators they're very hard workers. They're here to get the work done. Their strategy is to wait for something to respond to. So they need to wait for something to respond to for their strategy, but they also have to inform others, because as part of their type, it's important to let people know what you're doing. It's not like you have to ask permission. It's just saying, hey, I'm going to do XYZ. They're creative. They have a very creative flow, and they definitely don't like disruption. So sometimes when you disrupt a manifesting generator, they can get thrown off course for what they're doing, and they can get very frustrated and irritated. They can be very inspirational. And when they get frustrated, it means that they are either on the verge of a breakthrough, or that they have not been following their strategy and something is out of alignment. So the authority is emotional authority, and that's because you have the emotional solar plexus defined. So you have consistent access to that energy. And so emotional authority is someone who they feel through their decisions. They have waves of energy, and each emotional themed person has different energies. So they're not all going to act the same way, but they all go in some form of a wave. You might have, small equal undulations, or you might, I have my cat on my lap here, sorry. Or it might be, spiky up and down. And the best way to tell what kind of emotional authority you have is to keep a journal and write down what your reactions have been, or how you've responded, or how your body has felt. And you never want to make decisions when you're on the plateau, because you want to make sure that you're making aligned decisions, and aligned decisions should be made when you feel best. Your profile is a 6-2, and the 6-2 profile can be very interesting. It can be very difficult, because the line 6 is, it's called the role model, and it has 3 phases to it in like kind of in life. So like the early phases of it, it starts at birth, and it goes to like mid-30s. And during that phase, you're very, a line 6 profile is very experiential. So they want to try everything and see what works and see what doesn't. They learn through their experiences, and that they are considered actually experiential learners. They try things out first so that they know what works and what doesn't, and then they go through a lot of exploration and experimentation in just about every area of their lives. And it can appear like they're making a lot of mistakes, but those aren't really mistakes. They're necessary in order to grow. And so it's part of the 6 lines profile, and this is what they're supposed to be doing. The energy is very different from phase to phase. Phase 2 is from the mid-30s to about age 50, and that is it's also called being on the roof. And this is where you take in all that you have learned in phase 1, and you kind of contemplate those learnings with life and things that happened in phase 1, and contemplate those to use towards healing and towards growth. So it led you to the right place. And this is where you do the inner work to heal. And this is kind of what we offer in the holistic empowerment system, is to do the inner work to heal those inner wounds. But they take a lot of information in, they gather it all, they study it all, and they learn from it. And sometimes they may feel depressed, thinking that they haven't made any major changes, but this is not true. If you were to look back and see how much you've learned, because as an experiential learner, where you try everything, you've probably learned an awful lot, and just maybe aren't giving yourself credit for it. But this is also part of the energy. And then in phase 3, that's at about age 50. That's when everything kind of comes together, and you kind of see the brilliance that you've learned over the years. I don't know how else to explain it other than to say, because you're always growing and you're always changing, but being able to see things from a broader perspective, and maybe a more positive mindset, I guess I would say. The other part of your profile is the 2. And I don't think I said this, but the profile is the number after the decimal point in those black and red squares. And so this profile number comes from the sun sign, which is the very top red and black square. It's the number after the decimal point, and it takes the black one and then the red one. And so your unconscious profile is a line 2. And the 2 is the hermit, or also called the responder. They need time alone to regenerate their energy. They can be shy, but they're designed to be called out. So when somebody needs something, they're going to call upon you. When you're alone, that's when you build up the energy to be able to help people when they do call on you. So the the quantum purpose for a line 2 is to integrate the knowledge and energy and wisdom, and to wait for the readiness of others to call them out to share that information. The hermit is the second line, which is on the lower level of the trigram. And that's an interpersonal line. So they are here to gather knowledge and contemplate it until it's ready to be shared. And because it is in this lower trigram, they have personal karma that they're here to learn from. We also have these energy centers. And the energy centers, just like each planet, has its own energy. And each center also kind of acts the same as the planets. it's where that particular energy is metabolized. So when you take the energy of the planet and you put it with the energy of the energy center, and then you put that with the energy of the type and the strategy and the authority and the gates and the channels and the circuitry, it really kind of tells a big story about different areas of your life, and will probably show you a lot of themes that have played out over and over in your life. And those themes that are playing out in your life are actually gifts to help you to learn, because once you learn, you don't have to repeat that same energy. So where you're repeating energy means that you still have something to learn in that area. And so this energy centers is where each where your energy is metabolized. So it's really important to understand what energy is processed where, because you'll be able to pay attention to your body. And so our body tells us everything that we need to know when we listen to it. And so this is a way in which you can start paying attention to what your body is telling you. Each of us feels energy in a different way, but understanding where for you it may come from kind of helps you to practice awareness so that you can learn from and work with that energy. And so the energy of the head center is the inspiration. That's where inspiration comes from. And then the next energy center down, so that energy passes down into the next one, which is the ajna center. And this is the idea generator. So you get the inspiration comes in, and then it gets to your ajna, and you start coming up with all these ideas to help make that inspiration possible. And the next one down is the throat center. And this is the center for communication and manifestation. And so that energy comes from your ideas and goes down into the throat. And this is where you can communicate it out to the world, or work on manifesting it and making it come to fruition. The next energy center now is, the next energy center down is the G center, or the identity center. And this is the center for self-love and life direction. And so when this is open in someone's chart, they can struggle with self-love and life direction. So if it's open, it can be a painful area to have. But even being defined can sometimes be difficult too, because we have conditioning. There's conditioning that happens in everyone's life that changes the way that we think about ourselves. And that conditioning is put into our lives at such a young age that a lot of times we don't even realize that it's there. And a lot of times our subconscious mind is going to respond before we even realize what's going on. And our subconscious mind responds based on events of the past, based on this conditioning that we have, based on multiple things. But one of the things that we do in the class is we work on self-love and our value and our direction, because it's really, really important in human design and in your energy. What you think about is what you create in the world. So we want to make sure that when we think about ourselves, we have very high thoughts of ourselves. And if not, then that's all the more reason to jump in this program. But anyways, that's all about love. The next one down, which is a little bit to the right and lower, that's the will center. And that's where you have willpower and value. This one is very often, I forget what the percentage is, but a lot of people don't have the will center defined, which means that we don't have consistent access to willpower. So sometimes people can, if this is open, sometimes people can say, oh, that person's lazy or whatever. And it's not that they're lazy, it's just that they don't always have the willpower. The next one down is the solar plexus. And this is the triangle, the sideways triangle on the right-hand side. And this is where emotional clarity lives. And so you have emotional authority. And so this is where you're going to want to look at how you might be experiencing your emotions. And based on what's defined in that energy center, will give you more information, as well as what planets, and that will give you a whole little story. The next one is the square at the bottom, and that's the root center. And this is where adrenaline energy lives. So if this is open, sometimes people don't have access to that energy, and people can think that they're lazy, but it's not that. It's just that they don't have consistent access to that adrenaline energy. The one above the root center, the pink square, that's the sacral, and this is where workforce, life force energy lives. And this, again, if it's open, people can mistake them for being lazy, and it's not that they're lazy. It's just that they don't have consistent access to this kind of workforce, life force energy. And then the last one is the sideways triangle to the left, and that's the splenic center. And this is where intuition and survival are. So this is where all your fear gates are. So exploring this area is interesting too, because it'll show you a theme that has probably played out in your life of things that you're afraid of, or things that have maybe stopped you in the past from doing what you kind of wanted to do. The next area I want to talk about is the soul purpose and the life purpose. The soul purpose comes from the top two black squares, which are the sun and the earth, and the life purpose comes from the top two red squares, which is your unconscious energy. The black side is your personality. This is probably energy that you're familiar with, that you know that you have. And it's because you've carried it for a long time, and it's more comfortable energy for you. This is where your soul, the energy of your soul. And then the red side is probably, it's called the unconscious side, because you're probably not as familiar with it. It's kind of the areas that you grow into in this lifetime. So your soul purpose from your conscious side is the 49-4. And I got that from those top two black squares. Your sun is gate 49 and your earth is gate 4. So I just pulled a little bit of information about each of these gates to kind of give you an example of what this energy is. So the gate 49 is the catalyst. This is the gate of principles. And this is where like revolutionary changes happen. So there's no gray area when it's done. It's done. It's just black and white energy, I guess. It's, you know, emotional energy that fluctuates. The energy can break a relationship apart if you aren't clear on your values. So make sure that you're being true to yourself and don't settle for less or make compromises against your values or enter into agreements that are not worthy of your time and energy. So it's really important to make sure that you know what you want and that you're putting yourself first. Don't quit too early or hold on longer than is necessary. Sometimes this energy has the tendency to hold on to things for much longer than is necessary. And this can include, you know, relationships, things. You can have hoarding tendencies in this energy. When you're not in alignment, you can get stuck in a relationship that's not right, and that might be kind of codependent, painful, or maybe with a lack of intimacy. And you may undervalue yourself or find that there's a lot of drama or fighting about values that no longer serve you. So it's really wise not to act on impulse. But as you can see, I gave you a little bit of the lower vibrational side of this energy, because that will kind of help you to gauge where you are. It's likely that you have at one time in your life at least been in a relationship that hasn't been right, or maybe had some codependency with it. And this is kind of how you can see where you grow from. This is part of your energy, so it's likely that if that's not the case, you're holding on. Maybe you hold on to things and have a hard time letting go. Holding on to. I actually have a friend who has this energy, and she holds on to like negative things that have happened in her life. Um, and I always tell her, "Girl, you got to let that shit go." But, sometimes it's hard when you have this energy because you don't even realize it. And so that's one of the things that human design helps with, is that you can kind of see what those energies are, and it helps you to, it's kind of like that shock value that shocks you into, oh my God, that's me. And then you have it. So now you know the positive sides of it too. So you know how you can grow out of it. The next number down, your Earth gate, is gate 4, and this is the gate of possibility, or the gate of answers. Um, and this is like taking your possibilities into your imagination and really dreaming it into, manifesting it, dreaming it into form. It's your ideas being planted as a seed to help you to grow your dreams. Our imagination really helps to create an emotional response, and then it calibrates our heart, and that's what attracts experiences and opportunities that match the possibility that we have in our mind. So allow your imagination to flow and believe in possibilities, experiment with possibilities, and definitely trust the process. You have to be patient. If you're feeling pressured or have any self-doubt around anything creative or out of possibilities, or if you're trying to push against right timing, that's one way that you would know that you're out of alignment with this energy. It's really kind of cool stuff when you start getting into it, because when I read mine, it was almost like I felt like finally somebody heard me. Um, somebody understands, or like other people feel this way. Oh my God. Um, it was almost like a sense of, it gave me, I guess I could put it as, it gave me permission to value myself, because I felt normal, which I had never really felt normal before. I thought my thoughts might be a little bit crazy. But when I read them in the book and they were in black and white, I'm like, oh my God, somebody else feels this way. So it is pretty cool to really explore your energy. And for me, it spoke to every area of my life. There isn't any area that has been wrong in human design. Some people don't relate to some of their energy, but sometimes that's because they haven't grown into it yet, or they haven't grown out of it yet. So that can, sometimes it's hard to admit to ourselves that we might be on the negative side of an energy, and it's not, none of this is negative. It's more of showing you where you have room to grow, which I think is awesome, because it shows you exactly what happens when you grow. So you get to decide if you want to grow through that or not. Human design is very much like an experiment. You experiment with different energies, and you find what works for you, and you find what doesn't. But it at least is like a guide to guide you to the right areas. So your life purpose is the top 2 numbers on the left side. And like I said, this is unconscious energy. So it's energy that you're likely not fully aware of. I'm sure you're aware of some of it, but not fully aware of. And the sun sign is at gate 14. And gate 14 is the gate of creation, or the gate of power skills. And this is really the energy of value and appreciation for the resources that are provided to you. It's being grateful and not taking your resources or your resourcefulness for granted. Learning to trust in the resources that will bring value and not force into anything. It kind of changes the definition of work. Working to help transform the world, using your resources to help you transform the world, typically those with this gate don't make money in the traditional way. And they sometimes can have a fear, or yeah, I guess it would be a fear of the lack of money. Um, and that can sometimes cause you to compromise the right work for you. You have to kind of let the fear of money go away, because what you think about is what you're going to bring to form. And so if that's how you're thinking, that's kind of how your brain thinks that you, or your mind thinks that you want to be, because all it knows is what you circulate in your mind. So whatever you circulate in your mind, you're going to notice those things showing up on your in your outside world. So part of human design is changing that thought process to help you think on the higher vibrational level, to help raise your vibration, to magnetize back to you things that are more aligned with that higher vibration. And that's how we change lives. The next one down your Earth gate is gate 8. And this is the gate of fulfillment, or the gate of contribution. And learning, this is kind of the energy of learning who you are, and the ability to express yourself authentically, being the real you, regardless of who's around, not caring what other people think, just being who you are, because you value yourself and you love yourself enough to represent who you really are, who you truly are. The high energy of this gate knows that living their purpose is really authentically living out who they are. Not allowing self-judgment or anyone else's opinions to really hold you back. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Your purpose is who you are and not what you do. Your life is in alignment. When your life is in alignment, it's very inspirational to others. And it kind of pushes the boundaries of self-expression. So you're really here to be a role model. And if you think about it, your profile on your conscious side was the line 6, which is role model. And now your unconscious part of your life purpose is also telling you to be a role model. So I would say that you are here to be a role model to others. The struggle that you told me about was that you wanted to better understand your love life, and to really know whether or not your husband still loves you, and wants to be with you. And while I can't really answer that question, I'm going to just speak to your energy around that question. So remember that your thoughts create things. So you have to be really careful about what you're thinking about. I don't know what it is that makes you feel that way, but it's really important to understand what makes you feel that way and why. Do you have some sort of a belief around that that makes you feel insecure in your relationship, or are you getting feelings? And if you're getting feelings, that is your energy talking to you. That's part of what this program helps with. The empowerment program shows you it shows you where to look for your conditioning and kind of how to break it down and give it new meanings, because our life is created based on the meanings that we've given everything. And so most of our meanings were created in childhood before we really grew and learned. So we kind of have to go back and revisit our beliefs. And oftentimes we have to make many changes to our beliefs. And oftentimes we're surprised by how much is really stuck deep down. And, human design helps us to do this, but this is a lifelong process, because you built layer after layer after layer of conditioning. And so it does take time to get to the bottom layer. but the holistic energy empowerment system shows you how to do that. On top of learning where our conditioning is, we kind of learn how to step into conscious awareness of our patterns, so that we can step into our own power and take control of our lives, kind of creating a life that we're proud to be confidently living. A lot of times we don't pay attention to those patterns that happen in our lives. And when we understand our human design, it helps us to practice awareness and to see a lot of those things that our subconscious mind would have just immediately responded to based on past events of our lives, to stop that pattern. Because if we don't remain aware of it, and the subconscious mind is going to do the responding, they're going to do it before you even know it, and they're going to do it based on events of the past, which is what you're kind of trying to change. So if there's only one area of your life you're trying to change, start there with practicing awareness. If you want to change your entire life, try to practice awareness all the time. Now, we don't get that right 100% of the time because we're human and we all have setbacks. But the more you practice awareness, the more you're going to see opportunities to make changes. And they don't have to be big changes. They could be these little small changes. But understanding your energy is going to help you to decide what areas to change, how to change them, and how to watch for them. So in your chart, you have gate 49 in your conscious sun gate. And so that's the gate of principles. So that energy is usually very strong when something is supposed to be finalized. So you're going to know whether or not it's time. You just have to listen to your energy. With your emotional authority, I would recommend journaling to find your waves, your energetic wave. As I said, some can go like that, and some can go, really high, really high, and really low. But when you journal, you can kind of figure that out, because no decisions should be made when you're at that low point in your emotional wave. And so you need to kind of know where you are before you make that decision. The gate 49, the reactive shadow, is fear of rejection. So this may just be your shadow side coming out, and there may be a wound that you need to heal around that. So when you do heal that, that's going to disappear. Sometimes we energetically push people out or away from us based on our own fears. So you have some work to do around that, just kind of looking within and trying to figure out, why do I feel this way? Is it a fear? And if it's a fear, there's probably some sort of an inner wound that needs to be healed. Again, the energy empowerment system can 100% help you with that. That's exactly what we do. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. You also have an open will center. And so the open will center can have a shadow of not feeling worthy. So that's another area for you to look. Saturn represents the biggest life lessons, and your unconscious Saturn gate is in gate 20. And gate 20 is the gate of intuition, knowing when the timing is right and what needs to happen. And the conscious Saturn gate is in gate 8. So remember that that's also your unconscious earth energy. So it's a bit stronger of an energy, and that energy is all about understanding who you are as a person. When you're living authentically as you were designed, and you've learned to love yourself, and when you do love yourself and value yourself, you're going to see things start to change because your thought process is going to shift. It's important to use your imagination and really picture the life that you want. Remember what I said: if you are thinking these thoughts that, this relationship is over and he's going to leave me, and you don't want that to happen, you need to change your thoughts. It's really important to be clear and confident on the kind of life that you want to live. And when you work on understanding the energy, it can really help to align you to a higher vibe and really make better decisions in your life. You also have the gate 10, which is the gate of self-love, and your Jupiter. And so Jupiter is where we receive blessings. So this is a clear indicator that focusing on self-love will help you to create and live an abundant and fulfilling life. So you want to make sure that you're practicing that self-love. And again, the holistic energy empowerment system does exactly that. When you practice self-love, that's when you become empowered. You also have gate 5 in the unconscious Jupiter position, and this is the gate of patterns, using your past to predict your future. You like things being consistent and being able to see what's coming. And with this energy being in Jupiter, it's a blessing to come after you learn the lessons of Saturn. So when you get through the Saturn lessons, which is the knowing the timing is right and what needs to happen, then you get to the Jupiter blessing. As you grow and evolve, that's kind of when you start getting into the higher levels or the higher frequencies of these energies. And when you get into the higher frequencies of that energy, it calls in that Jupiter energy. And that's where your gift is. So it's pretty cool. But all of this is really just a snippet of your energy, and how your energy reacts with life. So if any of this sounded familiar to you, or like maybe you've had similar thoughts, then it's definitely worth exploring your energy on a deeper level. Energy flows where attention goes. And so why not put the attention on yourself? You want the good flowing energy, you want that high vibe. The holistic energy empowerment system is the system that you need. It's going to walk you through a process to help you to understand your energy, what it's telling you, and how to make better, more aligned decisions. Learn to put you first, learn to love and value yourself, and open your mind to possibilities, because when you value yourself, this is when things really change, and that's when the magic happens. So this reading has been really fun for me to do. I love this stuff. I'm so passionate about it. I could do this all day, every day. So thank you very much for allowing me to do this for you. I do ask that if you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback, because your feedback is really important to me. I can't grow and develop my business if people aren't honest with me. So your feedback is really important. What I would like to know is if any of this has resonated, if you can see how this energy can impact and change our lives. Unfortunately, in hour or whatever we've had today, I don't think I can express the importance enough of understanding our energy and how impactful it is to our lives. I mean, we're made up of 99.999% energy, so it literally is everything. So if you can see how the energy can impact or change your life, and if you'd like to know more about the program, please let me know. You can respond in the messages underneath this video after I post it, and then I can connect with you, probably either via email or via instant messenger, if you want to know more. And if not, that's okay. I'm not pushing. I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is available to them. So Kimberly, I hope that you enjoyed this reading, and I hope that it helps you in some way. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. So thank you.